Who is speaking inside your head? Every moment, thoughts flow through you. You hear an inner voice narrating your life. Should I do this? Why did they say that? What will happen tomorrow? But here's the puzzle. Who is doing the talking? And more strangely, who is doing the listening? This is the riddle of consciousness. It's not about stars or atoms or galaxies. It's about the very stage on which all of existence appears. Chapter 1. What do we mean by consciousness? Consciousness is the simple fact that experience exists. You see colors, hear sounds, feel emotions, and think thoughts. Without it, nothing means anything. But philosophers and scientists struggle to explain it. This is known as the hard problem of consciousness, coined by David Chalmers. The problem is this. We can explain how the brain processes information. Neurons firing, synapses transferring signals, chemical reactions. But none of that explains why it feels like something. Why does red look like red? Why does chocolate taste sweet instead of just being molecules? Why do we feel joy, sorrow, or awe? This inner world of sensation and awareness is called qualia, and it remains one of the greatest mysteries of existence. Chapter 2. Descartes and the voice of the I. The French philosopher Descartes once said, "I think, therefore I am." For him, the act of doubting, of thinking, was proof of his existence. But here's the riddle. When you hear your inner voice, is it truly you? Sometimes your thoughts feel automatic, like background noise. Other times, you argue with yourself, as if there are two voices inside you, one that wants to act, and another that judges, one that desires, and another that resists. So which one is you? Is the voice in your head your true self, or just a commentary produced by the brain? Chapter 3. The neuroscience of the inner voice. Modern science reveals that the inner narrator is connected to the brain's default mode network, the system that activates when you're not focused on the outside world. It creates a running model of you, your story, your identity, your sense of being a continuous self. But here's the shocking part. This voice can be an illusion. In split brain experiments, when the connection between the two hemispheres of the brain is cut, each side acts independently. Yet the left hemisphere, the language center, keeps inventing explanations for actions it doesn't understand. It creates a story, a narrative self, even when it's not in control. This suggests that the inner voice may not be a soul, but a storyteller, a kind of built-in narrator trying to make sense of your actions. Chapter 4. Buddhism, the illusion of self. Long before neuroscience, the Buddha observed the same mystery. He taught that the self we cling to is an illusion, a bundle of thoughts, feelings, and sensations constantly changing. When you close your eyes and watch the mind, you notice a thought arises, then fades. An emotion surges, then passes. Even your sense of eye flickers and shifts. So who is the permanent speaker in the head? According to Buddhism, there isn't one. The voice is just part of the flow. Consciousness, in this view, is not an identity, but a field in which experiences arise and vanish. The practice of meditation is essentially learning to see this truth. The voice is not you. You are the awareness that notices it. Chapter 5. Nietzsche, the multiplicity within. Friedrich Nietzsche had a different take. He believed the self was not a single unified entity, but a society of drives. Your inner voice is not one person. It's a chorus. Different instincts, desires, and perspectives compete for dominance. One moment ambition speaks, the next moment fear. One moment love whispers, the next resentment shouts. Nietzsche even wrote, "A thought comes when it wishes, not when I wish." This suggests that the inner voice is not under your control. It emerges from deeper forces within you. So when you argue with yourself, it's not madness. It's simply the reality that you are a multitude. Chapter 6. Psychology, the narrator and the shadow. Modern psychology echoes this. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the hidden parts of yourself you don't want to admit. Often, the voice in your head carries fragments of this shadow, criticizing, doubting, or even sabotaging you. At the same time, other voices push you toward growth, creativity, or compassion. In this sense, the inner voice is a mirror of the psyche. part memory, part desire, part fear, part hope. It is not a single speaker, but a parliament of voices. Some loud, some quiet, some wise, some destructive. Chapter 7, the question of free will. But here's the next riddle. If the voice in your head is just brain processes, do you truly have free will? When you say, I will do this, who made that choice? Was it the conscious narrator or the unconscious brain, deciding milliseconds before you became aware of it? Neuroscientists like Benjamin Libet found that brain activity for a decision begins before the person reports making the choice. In other words, the voice says, I choose this, after the choice is already made. If that's true, then the inner voice might not be the driver of your life. It might just be the commentator, explaining what's already happening. Chapter 8, Mysticism, the Voice of the Infinite. Across cultures, mystics have claimed that the voice inside is not merely human at all. In the Upanishads, it is said, the self within is the same as Brahman, the eternal. Here, the inner witness, the part of you that hears thoughts, is not your ego, but a spark of the universal consciousness. Christian mystics, too, spoke of an inner light, or still small voice, that was divine guidance. The Sufi poet Rumi called it the beloved, speaking through the heart. From this view, when you ask, who's speaking inside my head? The answer is profound. It is not me at all. It is God, Source, or the universe whispering through the veil of the mind. Chapter 9, Modern Theories of Consciousness. Science is still wrestling with what consciousness even is. Here are a few competing ideas. Materialism, consciousness is just brain activity, nothing more. The voice in your head is like the sound of a machine humming. Integrated information theory, IT. Consciousness arises from the complexity of information processing. The voice exists because the brain integrates countless signals into one experience. Pens. Consciousness is fundamental to the universe, present in all matter to some degree. If this is true, the voice in your head is not unique. It's part of a cosmic fabric of awareness. Simulation theory. What if your voice is not you at all, but code running in a vast simulation? The speaker in your mind would then be like dialogue generated by a program. Each theory opens a door, and yet none fully explains why it feels like something to hear that voice. Chapter 10, the final riddle. If the voice isn't you, then who are you? Strip it all away. The thoughts, the voices, the shifting dialogue in the head. What remains? There is something that hears the voice, something silent, yet aware. The philosophers call it the witness. Mystics call it the soul. Neuroscientists call it consciousness itself. That silent awareness has no words, no judgments, no personality, yet it is the ground of your entire life. So the riddle resolves into this. The voice in your head is not the ultimate you. The awareness that hears the voice is closer to your true essence. And perhaps the purpose of life is not to silence the inner voice, nor to obey it blindly, but to learn to listen, and then rest in the awareness behind it. Next time you hear that chatter inside, pause and ask, who is hearing this voice? Who am I beyond the noise? That question has no easy answer, and yet asking it may be the most important step in understanding yourself. Because maybe the riddle of consciousness is not meant to be solved. Maybe it is meant to be lived.